my God, why have you forsaken me?" We remember these words that Christ shouted from the cross. Did he lash out because he stopped believing in God? I somehow doubt that. Or did he lash out in frustration over what he saw in front of him? Pain and suffering, fear, greed, and ignorance. So much, so widespread. How could his small voice, even through his ultimate sacrifice, do anything to change that? There was nothing left to do but yell. That crack, that moment of doubt, reminds us that he was indeed human as well as divine. My God, why have you forsaken me?" 2 millennia later, these words still ring out across the Holy Land. For the scripture reading, listen to Psalm 22, from which these words originally came. It is a traditional Good Friday reading. Close your eyes and listen with your heart. Where are you drawn? Whose faces do you see? See yourself in the story. Who is the victim and who is the villain? Were these words written 2,500 years ago, or were they written yesterday? My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from my cries of anguish? My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer. By night, and I find no rest. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the one Israel praises. In you our ancestors put their trust. They trusted, and you delivered them. They cried out and were saved. In you they trusted, and were not put to shame. But I am a worm, and not a man, scorned by everyone, despised by the people. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord, they say. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. You brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you, even at my mother's breast. From birth I was cast on you. From my mother's womb you have been my God. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. Many bulls surround me. Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. Roaring lions that tear their prey open their mouths wide against me. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart has turned to wax. It is melted within me. My mouth is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs surround me. A pack of villains encircles me. They pierce my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment. But you, Lord, do not be far from me. You are my strength. Come quickly to me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. Rescue me from the mouth of the lions. Save me from the horns of the wild oxen. I will declare your name to my people. In the assembly I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you descendants of Jacob, honor him. Revere him, all you descendants of Israel. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has not hidden his face from him, but has listened to his cry for help. For you comes the throne of my praise in the great assembly. Before those who fear you, I will fulfill my vows. The poor will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek the Lord will praise him. May your hearts live forever. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. All the families of the nations will bow down before him, for dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. All of the rich of the earth will feast and worship. All who go down to the dust will kneel before him, those who cannot keep themselves alive. Posterity will serve him. Future generations will be told about the Lord. They will proclaim his righteousness, declaring to a people yet unborn, he has done it. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. My God, why have you forsaken me? On October 7th, when Hamas attacked Israel, I wasn't thinking about Jesus. I was thinking about one of my former students who lives in Jerusalem with her family. I just had a picnic with them a few weeks before. It had been 20 years since she'd graduated. As a student, she profoundly impacted my teaching, my understanding of Judaism, and my sense of social justice. Now she was a rabbi with a warm, brilliant, and witty husband, whose 2 daughters were, as small children should be, carefree and fiercely independent, until they ran laughing back into her arms for protection. I was fortunate to be able to reach out to her, and they're safe. The kids are a little stir-crazy, you see, because school is closed, she said, but they're okay. I'm grateful for that. But it didn't stop me from seeing their faces on every victim of Hamas. The faces I know cut through the anonymity of faces I don't, making them human to me. But for the grace of God, they say. My God, why have you forsaken me? I also know another young mother about the same age. She's Palestinian and lives in Gaza City. She was part of a group of women leaders from the Middle East that I hosted in my home for the State Department's International Visitor Leader Program. She's a human rights activist and also has 2 small children. I have not been able to reach out to her, and I do not know that they are safe. Her story is different. She talked about the process of getting permission to leave Gaza to come to the U.S. for the program. It didn't happen until the last minute, and almost didn't happen at all. She told us about the routine of her daily life. A warning would come, "We'll be bombing this area in a half hour. Take shelter." So she'd scoop her children out of bed in the middle of the night, take them to the shelter, and wait for the bombing to be over. In the morning, she'd take them back home, hoping it was still there. Sweep up the broken glass and then go on about her day. She wasn't trying to be sensationalist. This was her normal. I don't know where she is now. I don't know if she and her family are even alive. My God, why have you forsaken me? I've been struggling in the weeks and months since the attack because I want to find a unifying humanist message to share. The story has been co-opted and politicized in a way that I don't even know if that message exists. But maybe Good Friday is the right day to try. It's a hard day. Our God was murdered and he's dead. Good Friday is the day hope dies. The miracle of resurrection does not yet exist. Good Friday gives us the opportunity to be scared and angry and unsure. The perception is that you can only be all in, one side or the other, and the door is slammed to any listening or common ground. There are no human beings anymore, only collective good and evil. And if you're good for one, you're evil for the other. That's what makes this so much harder than anything I've encountered before. I fluctuate between being angry and sad when it comes to Gaza. I don't think there's a deep and hot enough circle for hell for those who committed the acts of torture, butchery, and rape against so many Israeli women, children, and men. But I also can't overlook the 50-plus years of marginalization that led to that point. When Rafat al-Hariri, a Palestinian poet, was interviewed by the BBC, he described the attacks on Israel as, quote, legitimate and moral, end quote, exactly like the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. That's a troubling metaphor because it invokes the G word, genocide, and that the victims are now the perpetrators. It's unsettling. We don't want to be challenged by those words. But they have been said, and we have to confront them. Dogs surround me. A pack of villains encircles me. They pierce my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. Once reduced to bones, we don't know if they're Israeli or Palestinian. We just know that they're innocent people who shouldn't have died. Genocide begets genocide. Being a victim does not give permission to victimize others. Justice is ever so much harder than vengeance. My God, why have you forsaken me? I asked a close friend who is Jewish and a journalist with family in Israel to help me understand. I wanted him to challenge me, as he does. He introduced me to the work of Rafat al-Hariri. He explained Zionism and the Western colonial history of the region to me, what it was like to live in Israel and what it's like there now. He wanted me to understand that this isn't always how it's been, and it isn't how it has to be, or how it should be. Then he told me this story. I always remember a story my grandpa used to tell when people asked him, how did he know the Holocaust was happening, if anyone told him, if there were any signs? He said that the only thing that he noticed was the silence at his barber. What was a lively conversational environment became silent the moment he crossed the shop's door. The next thing he knew was him being escorted to the train station with his family. I feel that silence very well in the media, he went on to say. But I cannot permit myself this silence, and I think this new generation is seeing the same thing. The silence. Do we need to be reminded of Peter's betrayal? Would he have spoken out for that man on the cross? Would we have? The one who was scorned by everyone, despised by the people? Who will we speak out for now? My God, why have you forsaken me? Strive not to fight for peace, but to create a world in which no other alternative is conceivable. I wrote those words many years ago, and I try to live by them. Yes, I regularly fail in that endeavor. And yes, I've been mocked more than once for being naive and foolish. I spent a lot of time after the attacks asking myself what I would do if I were a hostage. It was a fight between my reality and my aspiration. It narrowed down to a single question. What would you want your last words to be if someone had a gun to your head and you were about to be killed? I allowed my aspirational self to win and landed on, I hope that we meet again in the next life as friends. I've been reminding myself of that phrase and actively training myself on it so it's in the forefront of my mind. I hope that we meet again in the next life as friends. I never want to be in a position to say that, but if the unthinkable were to happen, I want to have the inner peace and presence of mind to be my aspirational self. They're probably right. I'm naive and foolish. But if we don't envision change, we can't make change. I think about my former student and my dinner guest every day, and I pray for them and for the nameless Israeli and Palestinian people for whom they serve as proxies. It's people like these two women and their families who will make change. I want to bring them together, serve a fine meal, and just let them talk. My prayer is simple. May the Palestinian and Israeli people come together to reject authoritarian and genocidal ideologies, to say this is enough. May their children play together and go to school together. May their old women gossip together as they prepare meals. May they share the bounty of each other's tables. May they work together and live together as friends and neighbors. May they be the shining star whose light spreads to other nations with the message, this is what can be. My God, why have you forsaken me? There's a line in the musical Rent. The opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. I believe there's truth in that. It's the creators, teachers and poets, more than any politicians or generals, who will bring peace. In honoring creators, let us close with a poem from Rafat al-Arir. If I Must Die was published on November 1st, 2023. If I must die, you must live. To tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child, somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite that you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment, an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. Rafat al-Arir was killed during an airstrike on Gaza on December 6th, 2023. My God, why have you forsaken me?